I know that you have heard this gospel many times, but it is something definitely to take to heart. And I thought that it was interesting that the Holy Fathers put this particular epistle reading in there. So St. Paul is talking to Titus, letter from Titus. So he's talking to Titus, which is one of the bishops that he appointed, and I believe from the text that he had put him in Crete, or at least near the area of Crete. And he was writing him a letter and saying, I know that you are having difficulties there. And in fact, in the letter here, he writes, so that those who have believed in God may be careful to apply themselves to good deeds. The word fruit will be used in the gospel, that are excellent and profitable to man and woman, of course. And then he talks about what to avoid. Don't get into quarrels, don't gossip, don't talk about unprofitable things. And then later on he says, and let our people, obviously being the Christians, learn to apply themselves to good deeds so as to help the cases of urgent need and not to be unfruitful. And so in the gospel reading, this is exactly now what we have. And so the Holy Fathers put this together nicely to show that the problems that we have today are not new problems. As it says, as the saying goes, there's nothing new under the sun. So we have the same exact problems today that St. Paul had in his time, that once people were not engaged in their community, then their fruits tended to fall off. So he talks about this parable today about the three types of people that they are. I have been all three of these people at one time in my life. All right. And the first two, I think, are not necessarily who we are in this community, in a general sense. All right. So he says to them, let me tell you what this parable means. All right. The seed is the word of God. Okay, we know that. And then the ones along the path who have heard that the devil comes and takes the word away from their hearts so they may not believe and be saved. That really, yes, that applies to some people, but generally speaking, that is not really who we're talking about amongst who we are today. And then the ones on the rock are those who hear the word, receive it with joy, and again, think during Holy Week. Because normally during Holy Week, everybody's excited, the church is packed, you can't get a seat. So they are there receiving the word with joy. It's what they want. So that's who they are. And so they believe for a while, Holy Week, and then they have the lamb, and then all of a sudden it kind of starts to taper off a little bit. And in time of temptation, they fall away. Because once Holy Week is over, once the joy of the Holy Week time, and then the resurrection, the Annunciation service, and once all of that now has finished, now everybody kind of returns back to their normal life, and they tend to fall away a little bit. We encounter temptation during the time of Holy Week, but we have the strength and the joy to fight back against it. But this tends to now weaken as time goes on. So we're getting closer now to who we are. And then, as for what fell among the thorns, they are those who hear, but as they go on their way, they are choked by the cares, riches, and the pleasures of life, and their fruit does not mature. So this more describes now, I think, generally who we are, is that there are other things that take over in our lives. Work takes over in our lives. Family issues and problems take over in our lives. And then to some extent, the love for money tends to take over. These things that I want. I'm seeing on the news here, and the one thing they're reporting is this may not be as joyful a Christmas because now you're not going to be able to buy all the things that you wanted. Right away, the first thing I think of is the Grinch that stole Christmas, right? That was his whole thing, was the idea that Christmas is about now all of these gifts. So this is now what we're seeing, and this is what we have to fight against. is to remember that light of anastasi, that δεύτερη λάβετε φως, that light that we received at Easter, so that it doesn't now fade away with the cares of life that come and tend to choke us. And these same cares are those that were present in St. Paul's time, which is why he had to write the letter to Titus, the letter to Timothy, the 2 letters to the Thessalonians, 2 letters to the Corinthians. This is why he had to write these letters, because this was happening in their time. And it, again, happens to us now in our time. And what we're being reminded of here in this gospel is that what matters is the fruits that we will produce. And this is what we want to keep at the forefront. Show me the deeds that you do, and I'll show you who you are. And that's what we want to remember, is not just to say we are Orthodox Christians, but through that silent witness to prove to others that we truly now take the light of Christ and bring that forward.